Hey y'all, it's Dr. Know-It-All. So it is Saturday, July 2nd. I was out biking and Tesla had their second quarter 2022 delivery, results were posted while I was biking. You'll see the little red dot on my head. When I wear my bike helmet, it actually kind of sticks right there. So anyway, apologies for that and for the fact that I'm a little bit wet here because I just took a shower. But I wanted to do an episode really fast. First of all, however, the most important thing today is happy anniversary to my wife, Lane, or Misinformation as she's known. I love you, dear. Happy anniversary. So I'm going to do this one really fast. We're going to talk through this real quick. And then, we're all going to go on about our day. So anyway, there are some things that are fairly expected here, but there are also some things that are not expected. So first of all, starting with the rather expected, the total of 258,580 vehicles were produced. That is the Model S and X were 16,000 and change. The Model 3 and Y were 242,000 and change. So altogether, they produced 258,500 units. They sold 254,695. They actually had their inventory had shrunk quite a bit over time over the last several quarters as they had been reducing inventory due to the fact that they were just trying to sell everything they could. So there's a little bit of an inventory increase here. A lot of this actually has to do with the June, right up here. It says June 2022 was the highest vehicle production month in Tesla's history. So that is the unexpected aspect of this. So the expected aspect, the consensus had gotten down to somewhere between 250 and 260,000 units sold. So you can see that deliveries were just about 255, so almost exactly in the middle of that consensus range. But what's really interesting here is that June 2022 was the highest vehicle production month in Tesla history. That is very, very impressive. If you, of course, everybody who follows this more or less knows that the Shanghai lockdowns shut down the Shanghai Tesla factory in, I think, a little bit of March and then a huge chunk of April and half of May or so, something like that. I don't have the exact dates in my head anymore. But anyway, there was a massive, massive loss, potentially up to like 70 to 100,000 units of loss in the quarter. So it's much lower. The last quarter, I think, was around 310,000 units delivered. And if we look back, this CNBC article had, where does it have it? Oh, here we go. Yeah, so last year, quarter two of 2021, they delivered 201,250. So this definitely is an increase over last year, even though there was these huge headwinds. But I think that the most important news about all of this is that June was a record-smashing production month. So certainly I would expect Berlin and Austin, since they were just ramping up, both of those are probably records. So that's kind of an automatic, I guess. Those are gimmies. But then the fact that Fremont, which has just been kicking butt to try to make up for all of the Shanghai production losses, has actually produced has been producing at an ever increasing amount, and they had yet another record. My understanding is that they're going to do a little bit of shutdown and they're going to retool and do some things like that. I think in July, that's what I heard last. But anyway, the fact that they were able to create another record month in Fremont is amazing news. And then the fact that Shanghai was able to come back from a complete shutdown and ramping back up again. I mean, it's not just getting the people back in the factory and getting them, working again and getting all the parts together. It's the whole supply chain. Like everything has to get working. You have to have the mined minerals. You have to have the refined minerals. You have to have the batteries. You have to have every single component. Even if one stupid wire or connector is missing, you can't produce a car. So all of that stuff has to be working, and the whole supply chain and everything has to be working. So it's absolutely, almost miraculous that Shanghai was able to get back and to get to a record production level. So Elon Musk, I think it was back in May, said that Shanghai was coming back with a vengeance, and it looks like the proof is in the pudding. Looks like they have definitely come back with a vengeance at this point. So really fantastic, interesting news. One thing I will also add onto this is that there was my battery episode, gosh, was that yesterday or 2 days ago? I can't even remember. I think that was 2 days ago. I did a battery episode where I said that the Model Y long range was being produced in Austin with the tooling using 2170 cells instead of 4680 cells, which are in the standard range, because they're bifurcating things in order to be able to produce more cars and ramp more quickly than they could just with 4680 battery cells. But anyway, rumors are that they actually, my assumption was that the stuff that Elon talked about being stuck in China had actually made it from China to the United States to Texas, and they were now utilizing that in the factory. But apparently that is not the case, and some magic rabbit out of the hat, who knows what the heck they did, voodoo, they were able to somehow integrate the 2170 battery cell vehicles into the production line without the tooling that they need from China. That is, again, all of this stuff is rumors. Until Sandy Munro gets a hold of these vehicles and tears them down, we don't necessarily know what's inside of them and all of that stuff. But anyway, these are all rumors, so take these all with a grain of salt. But this is what I've been hearing. So if that is in fact the case, you know, it just blows my mind how incredibly resourceful Tesla is that they're able to make changes like that under circumstances that they just shouldn't be able to. So most other car companies would throw up their hands and say, oh, well, that's not going to happen for a while. Just forget about it. We'll shut the production line down until we have the facilities and the tools that we need. But Tesla's like, no, we'll go ahead and do that. So anyway, if those rumors are true, kudos to the folks at Tesla Austin for making the miracles happen. Pretty impressive stuff. It just goes to show how agile and lean production really, really comes to the fore and makes things amazing. I think the last thing I wanted to touch on just real quick was on July 20th of 2022, which is third Wednesday. I think that's when they do it. Third Wednesday of each quarter or something like that. They do their earnings report. So we have a little less than 3 weeks to wait to find out how earnings and all of that came through. Don't forget about the fact that Elon, was very explicit about the fact that Tesla is burning through cash in immense quantities right now because they're ramping Berlin and Austin. There's been a lot of junk in the news about how what they're doing is they're going bankrupt because they can't afford to do all this stuff. They absolutely can afford to do this. They've got cash on hand. They're making plenty of money. This is one of those things, when you start up a new factory for a period of time, it is going to eat more money than it earns, because everything, employees, building, rent, materials, paint, all of this stuff has to be in place to make these vehicles. They're very expensive. This is where like doing software is a lot easier, right? Because you just have to pay for the people and I guess some computers or something. But in order to make these very expensive vehicles, you have to have all of this material, and it all has to be in place. And a lot of it has to be pre-purchased. So you're just paying for all of this stuff before you sell a single vehicle, which means you're burning through billions of dollars until you sell the vehicles, at which point you then start to recoup that money. The import of this is when we get to the July 20th, 2022 earnings report, you're going to see big drags. You're going to see a lot less profit margins than we have seen in recent quarters, because they now have to count both of these factories against earnings. So just expect that. I assume Wall Street has this sort of in mind. Also, given the fact that these numbers are almost exactly in line with Wall Street estimates, I don't expect to see a great deal of movement on the stock market. Again, not a financial analyst, so don't go basing your thoughts on what I'm saying, but this is my thought at least, is that you won't see a ton of movement in Tesla stock on Tuesday when the markets reopen. Remember, July 4th is on Monday, so that is a national holiday in the US, so the stock markets will be closed. Anyway, I've got an episode that I've been working on for like a week and a half now about large language models, and I'm very excited about that. Hopefully I will get that out tomorrow. But in the meantime, I hope everybody has a lovely Saturday. Don't forget that there's a whole bunch of ways you can support the channel by liking the video, subscribing, checking out Patreon, all of that good stuff. So check that stuff out in the description. And meantime, everybody have a lovely day. Congrats to Tesla again for doing as well as they did, considering all the ridiculous things that have happened this quarter. All right, here's to quarter 3. Bye-bye, everybody.